Okay, take two because the first one I messed up. Anyways, my name is Keanu. I am the host of the Superfan Podcast, where I will recap and analyze my favorite TV shows, namely The Amazing Race. I am an Amazing Race super fan. I've been watching since I was like in third grade, back in season 5. And I've been watching and consuming a lot of podcasts talking about reality TV. And I thought, why not make my own content? And instead of just being a consumer, I can interact with others and discussing my favorite shows and episodes. So I'm super stoked. Yeah, so out of the CBS trifecta, Survivor, Amazing Race, and Big Brother, Amazing Race is my all-time favorite. When anyone asks me like a fun fact, like tell me a fun fact about yourself, I tell them that I can name in order all the teams that got eliminated in every season. I tell them to pick a random season and tell me a random placement, and I'll tell you the team name that finished. So if that tells you anything, I am a big nerd for this stuff. Yeah, I started watching when I was in third grade for season 5, but then I didn't see it again on my TV until season 12. And that's when I truly fell in love with The Amazing Race, when I saw Ronald and Christina grace our TV screens, that Asian representation, and they did super well, and I was hooked ever since. And I honestly have seen season 12 like over 100 times. I'm not even exaggerating. This is a very unhealthy obsession of mine, if you haven't noticed already. Don't mind me looking down at my computer because I've written a lot of notes. But so for today's episode, I will be assessing the cast of The Amazing Race season 34. I am super stoked for this season, and I cannot wait to get to talk about it. So let's see where we're at here. Oh, another big reason is that I want to start this is because, I don't know, the field isn't very saturated with Amazing Race podcasts. I've noticed that the podcasts out there are usually by some of the racers themselves, which is super cool, and I like hearing about their insight on the race, because one day I hope to race the race myself. So the racers themselves, and then other like big established podcasts also recap The Amazing Race, but sometimes they might not be like the super fans. And so what I am seeing a lack of is, big fans of The Amazing Race like doing podcasts, and I hope to provide that content. I don't know if I'm gonna have any novel ideas or commentary. I hope I do. And so I hope people watch this and want to engage with the episodes with me. So how I want to set up this podcast is today I'm going to do the cast assessment. And then for every episode this season, I plan on doing 2 videos. The first video for each episode will be kind of just a recap episode and kind of getting my initial thoughts and commentary. And then I plan on doing a second episode later that week, looking at the additional footage that CBS normally releases. Sometimes racers themselves in that season do add their own like YouTube videos and commentary, and so I definitely want to get that because that will inform me like better of what exactly happened in the show, because I mean CBS has to edit all this footage into like a 40-minute episode, and so some challenges will be missed, the greater context, what actually went down. And then I also want to use Google Maps to see like where they were, and then how did they get from A to B, and how long that would take. And I like doing that because I feel like I am a good navigator. So that would be one of the skill sets that I would bring to The Amazing Race, is my navigation skills. And so maybe we can kind of break that down a little bit more about, okay, how long did it really take them to get from A to B? What would be the best directions? Where did they get lost, etc., etc. So, I want to provide like deep dive. So that's like, the super fandom. Like, let's actually dissect like where are they at in the world, and because CBS can make it look like, oh, it just took them 10 seconds to get there, but it was actually a 2-hour drive. So I don't know. These are the stuff that make me super excited. Um, I also plan on potentially recapping Survivor. That might be ambitious. That might be a little bit overly ambitious for me, but if I have the motivation to and the schedule to, which my time is very limited with my full time work, but we'll see. We'll see about Survivor, because Survivor is also coming up this week, and the cast looks very promising as well. When I'm doing this podcast, I'm probably going to edit it because I am very verbose and I am not the most articulate person. So hopefully y'all like the more condensed version. But if this is something that you want to, listen to or be a part of, I don't know, a community that I'm trying to make with like Amazing Race superfans, please subscribe. That would be the absolute world to me. Look at my globe. This is not even, I have this globe all the time. This is not just because I'm doing an Amazing Race podcast. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed and followed and engaged. I oftentimes feel alone with my fandom for reality TV shows, and I know there is a world out there, but it's not something I normally talk with friends or family. I mean, there's a couple, but I really geek out about this stuff. So if this is something that you would be interested in, please subscribe. Please comment. Let's discuss. Okay. And obviously, I'm going to be working out the kinks throughout all of this. So, give me some time to figure it all out. It's not going to be perfect by any means, but hopefully it gets better along the way. Okay, so first team we got is, for the cast assessment, this is a cast assessment video, by the way, is Aastha and Nina. They are an engaged couple from Marina Del Rey, California. Aastha is a 33-year-old vice president of operations, and Nina is a 34-year-old director of business development. Overall, I am feeling very optimistic about this couple. They just seem mentally strong, and that's what they describe themselves as, mentally strong. I can tell that they have a great work ethic. And Aastha, being a super fan, I always have to root for that. And one reason why I definitely know that they're a super fan, or at least Aastha is because I was watching Claire and Derek, another team's Insta story, and they were talking about like their first impressions of other teams, and their first impression of Aastha and Nina was that they were super smart and well prepared, because they also only brought one bag with them. And if you listen to other Amazing Race packing videos, a lot of them say bring one pack, it'll save you a lot of energy. And Hung and Chi in season 32 did that. So it's boding well for them for sure. I am getting strong Nat and Kat vibes from season 17. Nat and Kat, again, one of my favorite teams of all time, first all-female team to win the US version of the Amazing Race. And I get that because they just seem intelligent. They have a commanding presence, hardworking. I mean, to be I don't know exactly if it's a small business or big business, but to be a VP and to be the director position, I mean, you gotta work your way up there, right? I also like how Aastha says that they're going to have a meditative mindset. So that's telling me that they're going to race smart and, minimize the mistakes. And this is going to be especially important at the beginning of the race, because as long as you're not making these egregious errors, you're going to make it to the next round. The game is just to not be last. And so if you're minimizing your mistakes and not being reckless, I have to imagine you're going to make it far in this race. One thing that reminds me of is Tyler and Corey from season 20. Was it social media season? 27, 28? I don't know that off the top of my head. But in that season, there was a live stream at the first route marker, the first clue box in Mexico City, and it was a live stream, right? And so when Tyler and Corey got to the box, unlike every other team, they got the clue and then just started running. So the clue was for a detour. And so Tyler and Corey were there for like on the live stream, just standing in the corner for like 5 minutes reading the clue. But that was good for them because they ended up doing really well on the race, and they were like, we're not going to make any mistakes. We're going to read the entire clue, read your clue, and make sure that we're going to choose the right side of the detour. And so I can see Aastha Nina being the exact same, like Tyler and Corey, like Nat and Kat, where they are going to be smart and not necessarily, they don't necessarily have to be the fastest, but they're going to be the smartest. I also have to recognize that Aastha and Nina are the first lesbian couple since season 16, Carol and Brandy. And I mean, my gosh, that, like, how, like, what's going on in the CBS production team or like casting team? Like, you haven't had a lesbian couple in 18 seasons. Like, come on. You know, how many gay couples have you had? Gay male couples? You've had too many. No, not too many. Because, no, we love the gay male couples teams. But to be the second in U.S. history for the Amazing Race lesbian couple, I mean, come on. I mean, it's better late than ever. But, you know. And I liked, so I'm getting a lot of this commentary from the videos that they had made that CBS released. Like a lot of this information, in case you were wondering. They didn't release any bios. I think they just released those videos. But in those videos, what I really appreciated is there were 2 shots of them kissing. And I don't think in the Meet Carol and Brandy video they did that. I mean, this was back in, 2010. And so it was just heartwarming to see, and we like to see it. So, you know, gotta support. So ultimately, I think they're gonna go very far. I'll let you know where I think they're gonna go at the end of the video. But definitely top 6, and ideally top 3. So I am a big support of Aastha Nina. Okay, the second team is Abby and Will. They are high school sweethearts. They have been dating for 8 years. They're from Birmingham, Alabama. Abby is a 24-year-old data scientist, and Will is a 25-year-old accountant. Yeah, I'm rooting for them as well. I see a lot of myself in Abby. Again, similar to Aastha, Abby is a super fan. Apparently Will is as well, but I think Abby is giving me more like energy from the interview itself. She is just gushing about being there, and I have to imagine if I were in her shoes, if that was me, I'd be doing the exact same thing, just kind of grinning ear to ear, like just can't believe she's there in the moment. She talked about how every step along the way was just amazing, and so I know that she's gonna seize her moment along with Will on this race, and I am rooting for them hard because I just see myself a lot in her. Yeah, I think they spent more talking about just kind of gushing that they're in the race rather than like talking about like their skill set. I think they talked about that too, but anyways, yeah, another thing similar to Aastha and Nina is that they said that they're gonna take things slow, like think before they act. They're gonna support each other, communicate, keeping a level head, because they recognize that the teams that typically go far in the race have those qualities, and so that tells me that you don't just watch the race casually. Like, you actually know, you've watched the show enough to recognize patterns of what typically leads to success in the race, and not just knowing what to do, but I actually think just seeing their personality in this 1-minute interview that they do support each other, that they will keep level-headed. And to know someone for 8 years since high school, I think they actually knew each other from kindergarten, compared to some other teams who are just, you know, finding each other like within the past year. It's just going to bode well for them on the race. And they have a lot of good energy going on. I think a team that reminds me of them is Megan and Shane from season 15, because it was like a younger couple, fairly athletic, very competitive. I just get a lot of positive energy from them, and they could be. I don't think they're gonna be always at the top, unlike Megan and Shane. But just young couple vibes. Competitive. I see it. I don't want to take too long talking about that. And I just don't see them bickering at each other. I really don't. I don't see them bickering. So I think they're gonna be top 6, but I don't know if they're gonna make it to the finale. They might just be one task that they're just not good at. It's just the challenge that gets them. I think they're gonna be good with navigation and all of that, but maybe a challenge is gonna get them. Who knows? Okay, next team is Aubrey and David. They are Latin dancers and a couple from Los Angeles. Aubrey is a dance studio owner at 29, and David is a helicopter mechanic, also 29. I'm not feeling the best about their chances here, but I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. Now, okay, with this, I'm not trying to roast people. This is just my commentary. I'm glad I'm not on like a big podcast, because I feel I can just speak my mind, right, without getting censored. But I don't know. I'm getting awkward vibes from David, man. One thing that I thought was interesting was that he spends 15 seconds talking about how Aubrey is loving, loyal, caring, amazing, and then talks about loving again. And I'm like, bro, I want to know I want to know more about what she's gonna be good for a teammate, rather than just your love for her. But anyways, I audibly yawned at that point. He's also a little bit soft spoken, and Aubrey does describe him as shy. When she was talking about, she saw him in the corner, not talking to anyone else, was kind of the shy person, and then she had to approach him. So I think that his soft spokenness coming from the interview kind of matches Aubrey's description of him as shy. But I really hope that doesn't hinder them from being assertive, because you can be a shy person. I identify as someone who's introverted, shy, but when something needs to happen, I'm gonna be assertive. I need to get my way, and so I hope I see that side of him specifically. And then another thing about David, I think something going good for him is that his job as a helicopter mechanic, again, I don't know anything about that stuff, but I have to imagine you're good on your hands. And that particular skill set should make you go a long way in the race, because there's always a building challenge, a fix this, put these pieces together. Physical challenges, not by brute strength, but knowing how to use actual tools. And so if you're a mechanic, you probably know the difference between a screwdriver and a wrench, which can trip up a lot of teams, and honestly would trip up me, because I recently helped try to fix my car and I was of no help. But anyways, it's not about me. I'm also interested to know how long they've been dating, because some of these teams have been together for 8 years, high school sweethearts, but I'm assuming they recently got together. I did today look at their Instagram, and I saw an engagement happen in New York. So that also tells me that they're obviously still together. So maybe they actually do really well in the race. Because, if they got 12th, I don't know if you should put that ring on that finger, I think they're going to be bottom half, 12th to 9th place. But I hope they prove me wrong. They also, I learned, were a late addition, because they went from doing the typical 11 teams on the race to 12. And I mean, what an arc would that be to be the alternate and then go far, which has been happening a lot in Amazing Race. These alternates end up doing really well, or make a really good impression. On Big Brother, Joseph, spoiler alert, gets eliminated halfway through, but he ends up being the heart of the season, and arguably one of my favorite contestants of the season, or of all time. And he was an alternate. And then Claire was an alternate on Big Brother, and now then she was on Big Brother, and now she's on Amazing Race. So, alternates, there's something about them. Maybe they have something to prove. But yeah, they tend to be better than average than the person who just gets cast like right on through. So, even though they're a couple, I'm getting kind of Ishwar and Aparna vibes. And Ishwar and Aparna, if you don't know, from 2 seasons ago, are like a sibling. I'm not saying that they don't have chemistry. Who are we talking about? Aubrey and David. I'm not saying they don't have chemistry or that I see them as siblings, but I kind of see them getting lost in the edit. Like their personality didn't like pop off as much. They have the potential of being like a bickering couple, which I would appreciate because I love myself a bickering couple, and I don't want teams that are too nicey. And there's a lot of teams that are like too nice and too positive, and I need like more of a dynamic. So if they can give me more like evil, chaotic, and not like chaotic energy, but like evil energy, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then one thing I also want to address, because I feel I'd be amiss to say, I feel like the Latino representation in the Amazing Race has historically been low, specifically for Latino men. And so the fact that we get, from what I know, two in Luis, and here David, I think is great. Because I feel like historically we haven't seen many Latino men, and I'm like, yo, where are the Latino men at? And then growing up in Southern California, like, and then just seeing the disparity in like what I see in my everyday versus like on reality TV shows, it's just so jarring. And so I'm glad to see it, and I hope he and Aubrey, I've been talking a lot about David, but I hope they do really well. My biggest hope for them is that even if David is more soft-spoken and shy, that he ends up being a challenge based at everything, because he's like a helicopter mechanic, he's good with his hands, and it just like surprises everyone else from left field. Like that would be, I don't know, I would really appreciate seeing that storyline if that rings true. Okay, the next team is Derek X and Claire from Big Brother 23. Derek X is a product manager at 24, and Claire is an artificial intelligence engineer at 25. And I don't know how to portray this, but I am so freaking excited for DX and Claire. Derek X also goes by DX. Derek Zhao, DX, Derek X, all of the above. I freaking love Derek X in Big Brother 23, and I'm all for the cookout, but I hope Derek X comes back for All Stars, because he was one of my favorite players along with Tiffany and Hannah. Not sure, if you guys watched Big Brother 23, but some reasons why I really like Derek is because he was kind of like the underdog. When he entered the Big Brother house, he had no idea what he was doing. He originally applied for Survivor and then didn't get it, and they offered him the spot in Big Brother. And so he went in not knowing anything, and he was about to leave the house, but he was good at a challenge, so bodes well for the Amazing Race, and survived. And the thing is that he learned super quickly. He's a very intelligent guy, and the learning curve for him on most things I feel like is less for the average person. And so I know that him and Claire, I know Claire was on him to do his studying before the Amazing Race, as opposed to not studying before Big Brother, because Claire is a big super fan. She is not the one that just, watches from the couch. She has made her own, like, Survivor Michigan when she was at UMich. She is the super fan queen. And so, knowing that, prepared Derek X into a reality TV competition, it's going to be dangerous, y'all. It's going to be dangerous. So... And then looking at their Instagram stories about like how they prepared, they watched multiple seasons. They brought one backpack. They were listening to podcasts from other racers, getting their advice. I'm sure they didn't spill all their secrets on the Instagram story that I saw, but I can tell that they were prepared. They're fit, they're young, they're smart. They have good chemistry. They're fun. Like, what is not to love? Speaking of what's not to love, actually there are. Their video for that CBS release kind of made me a little worried because they talked about like making alliances, and I have my biggest pet peeve of Amazing Race is all of the focus on alliance making. Like, okay, but let me make clear. Alliances have been a thing since the very first season of The Amazing Race. It's just humans interacting with each other. It's natural to bond with other teams, to get other teams out and things like that. But the peak of anti-alliance making had to have been season 32 for me. I just hated it so much with a passion. And I think I even went at it with Will and I think it was Will that I was going at it on Twitter. Not at it, but like I kept on like tweeting like no, but the reason why this is bad, like I get it, like alliances is good for the race, but for TV it's so bad and I hate it. So Derek and Claire, getting back to the point here, Derek and Claire talk about alliances a lot, but they might have just been talking about it because I'm assuming one of the interviewers asked them, okay, like what skills are you gonna bring from Big Brother to The Amazing Race? And then they're going to talk about alliances. So, you know, they have to talk about something about Big Brother. Yeah, no, Claire is a Survivor fan queen. Like, before she went on Big Brother, on her intro video, she had a notebook, you know, as one does about the show. And so it wouldn't surprise me if she had one of course she has one for Survivor, but it wouldn't surprise me if she had one for The Amazing Race. I am just super stoked to see them on my TV screens again, y'all. So I hope that their personality shines through like they did on Big Brother. I'm biased and want them to be in my top 3, but who knows if I don't think they're going to win the season. I hope they win the season, and I would be very pleased, but I don't know. Okay, next is Emily and Molly. They are reunited long-lost twins. Somewhere on the East Coast. I didn't write it here. But Emily is a law firm administrator and Molly is a healthcare administrator or working in the admin. Overall, not feeling too hot on them. I think the one thing that I've gleaned from the interviews is they seem more focused on getting to know each other and spending this quality time together like they haven't done throughout most of their lives. They said that they found each other last year through like a DNA testing kit, like 23andMe or something. And my gosh, like what a freaking story, first of all. But in the context of The Amazing Race, that doesn't bode well for them. If I feel like their priority is getting to know each other and not so much winning the race. Which is fine, but if we're talking about who I think is going to win, it's not going to be them. One team that reminds me a lot about them is Andy and Jenna from season 17. So this was a daughter and like biological birth mom. So Andy... Yeah, sorry. I don't know, I'm spacing out here. Andy gave up Jenna for adoption when she was young. I think she was like 21 or something like that. And then they reunited once again once Jenna turned 21, and then they ran The Amazing Race together. It was actually their second time or something like that ever seeing each other in person, and then they were like racing The Amazing Race. And from their interactions with each other, they were trying to like be so polite, like they're trying to make a good impression on each other, right? Like as they should, and you know, get to know each other. Like for them, they definitely prioritize, you know, that over the race, and they ultimately got, I think, 10th place, and which is fine, and I think it's an amazing story. But you know, if history repeats itself, it doesn't look good for Emily and Molly. Yeah, and then the other disadvantages that seem very obvious is that they don't know like their communication styles or like what they're good and what they're not good at, and kind of just like that unspoken chemistry that you have when you have a friend or a family member or a loved one for a long time. And so that's the obvious disadvantage. It's not like it's the like they're doomed for. Obviously they can go very far in the race and win, but they do have these barriers that other teams don't have. And for a cast assessment video, like that's what we have to go after, right? So have to go on. So one other thing that I thought was interesting was that I was listening to the Rob Has a podcast on Amazing Race, and they were doing like their cast analysis or whatever, and Mike Bloom said, yeah, unlike Lulu and Lala from last season, at least we can tell like these two apart. And I'm like, they look exactly the same to me. And I think he thought that they were fraternal twins, but no, Emily and what's her name? Emily and Molly, they are identical. They are identical twins. I know one is more athletic and the other one describes themselves as not athletic, but just looking at their face, like they're identical twins, So I'm gonna have a lot of trouble telling them apart, just like I did with Lala and Lulu and Lala. I think they're gonna be 12th to 9th place, somewhere in there. Again, prove me wrong. I would love to see their story unfold and see their chemistry together, but it's just screaming bottom of the pack to me. So, okay, next team is Glenda and Lumumba. Glenda and Lumumba. They are newlyweds from Georgia, I believe. Glenda is 41 and an insurance underwriter, and Lumumba is a 41-year-old middle school teacher. So the big thing here, no pun intended, is their height difference. Lumumba is 5'7" and Glenda is 6'2". So that is, if my math is correct, a 7-inch difference. I thought it was interesting. So on the cast video, it doesn't say newlyweds. It says big and small newlyweds. Like, we really have to identify this. One is big and one is small. I just thought that was unnecessary. But I'm feeling middle of the road with them. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be top 3. I don't think they're going to be the first 3 eliminated. I think they're going to be somewhere in the middle. And I am very looking forward to their personalities because they're giving me a lot of like fun energy in the interview, and their smiles are so big. Even Lumumba was like kind of poking fun at himself about like, oh yeah, well, Glenda wears like the pants in the relationship, but I'm really good at ironing. Like, that was funny to me. And so I think they're going to be very sociable. I can see them in an alliance or multiple alliances. They're going to seem non-threatening to the other teams. I don't think they're going to be U-turned or anything like that. I am getting, just on height difference alone, Max and Katie vibes from Amazing Race 22. Only if they were nice and actually decent humans. I did not like Max and Katie. I liked them because, like, I love to hate them, but I really didn't like them. But personality-wise, it's giving me Amani and Marcus, like, wholesome couple, just, like, playful banter between the two. I can see that. I can definitely see that in them. So I think they're going to do middle of the road, 8th to 6th, but these are one of the teams that I'm really interested in seeing their personalities shine throughout the race. So I'm definitely rooting for them. Okay, next is Linton and Sharik, a father-daughter duo from Brooklyn, New York. Linton is a 50-year-old vice principal, and Sharik is a 23-year-old master's student. I don't know what she's getting her master's done, but master's student. So they immigrated from Jamaica in 2001, so that means that she must have immigrated here when she was like 2 or 3. But yeah, I am a huge like father-daughter, where am I going with this? I'm a huge fan of like the father-daughter duos on The Amazing Race. It all started with Ronald and Christina. Like I mentioned, they're arguably my favorite team of all time, and they Linton and Sharik, are giving me kind of Ronald and Christina vibes, not gonna lie. She says she's vocal, she says that they butt heads a lot, that they're strong-headed, and I feel like, and if you know anything about Ronald and Christina, they butted heads like literally every second of The Amazing Race, except for maybe the last 3 episodes. So I'm really interested to see their dynamic. The interesting thing, though, the difference between Ronald and Christina and Linton and Sharik is that Ronald and Christina weren't very close growing up, from what I remember. And so when they had to spend so much time together on the race, it was just very overwhelming for the both of them, and they really had to work on their communication issues. Whereas Linton and Sharik, I think they both recognize that they're strong-headed individuals, and they seem more bonded like pre-race. And so I think they know each other's strengths better, they know what each other's weaknesses are better. And even though, just because you're two strong-headed individuals doesn't necessarily mean that you don't know how to communicate. It might be a little bit more rough, more vocal, more bickery, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you, at the end of the day, you can't get your tasks done. So, it's a team that I am rooting for. I hope they do well. Natalia and Arun from last season, they went far, but they didn't necessarily do well. You know what I mean? Like, they were always back of the pack, but I want to see a father-daughter duo go far and, like, just place high with each leg. And I think they have the potential to do so. I just hope that luck is in their cards, and because on paper they have everything going for each other. They know what they're good at. They know where they struggle at, and so I mean that's what you really need in a team. So Linton and Sharik, I hope y'all do well. I think they're gonna be bottom half. You know, if I had to place them, but I think if there's any team to prove me wrong, that I want them to prove me wrong, it's Linton and Sharik. Okay, next is Lewis and Michelle. They are a married couple from Miami, Florida. Lewis is a firefighter, 34 years old, and Michelle is a professional dancer for Pitbull, also at 34. Overall, I feel really great about them. They're giving me tons of energy. They had an audition video posted on YouTube, and it was a good time. They fit a lot of stuff in 5 minutes, and I felt like I got their personalities. High energy, fun-loving, like great chemistry, great dancers. They just kind of feed off of each other. They seem like they're like in step with each other, no pun intended. And so I can definitely see how they got on the show. I just think that they have a good attitude and they're smiling all the time. And one of the things that they said in their video is that we're gonna like have fun first. And that automatically makes me think of Team Fun, where like they were competitive, but like they put fun first. And that energy, I think, is what propelled them to do like decently well on both of their seasons. And so this is like the Team Fun if they were actually a couple, you know. I was also kind of getting Matt and Dana vibes just because they're both dancers, but with less bickering, and they actually seem like they tolerate each other. So and their shirts that say I think it's like raised on croquetas. I love that. Yesterday, I was actually going to get some croquetas for myself at Porto's. It's just like SoCal Cuban restaurant or bakery. But the line was freaking long, so I did not get my croquetas yesterday. But we love the representation. We love to see it. Similar to Daniel, I like to see the representation. I mean, and just like for Latinos in general, I just feel like historically, they've been a little bit better in the past 10 seasons or so. But I mean, first 15 seasons, y'all, like where were the Latinos at? So here we go. Top 6 material for sure, potentially top 3. Okay, next team is Marcus and Michael. They are labeled active duty brothers from the video. Marcus is an Army tank commander from Georgia at 38, and Michael is an Air Force fighter pilot from New Mexico at 30. Overall, I feel really good about these two. I have no experience working in the military, but from what I know is you have to be extremely diligent, hardworking, regimented to not just survive like the military, but to work your way up and become an Army fighter pilot and a commander. I mean, like, that tells me that you're a hard worker. That's it. Those are skills that will take you along through the race. It tells me you're not going to get flustered. You're going to get the task done. You're going to be systematic with it, and you're going to be like regimented with everything that you do. So those are the skills that I hope they possess. And we have very good reason to believe that they do possess those skills. Michael specifically, as the Air Force fighter pilot, he has to be good at directions, y'all. I mean, not only are you a pilot, but you're a fighter pilot, and I don't know exactly what that means, but you probably know how to use a compass. And yeah, no, it's just a pilot. I mean, come on, have we had a pilot on here before? I think we did. Wasn't like Dave and what's her name from season 20, Rachel and Dave? Wasn't he like a fighter pilot? I don't know, but they won, so there you go. Again, another team that's probably going to be good with like using tools and hands-on skills. That has to bode well for them. They both are strong looking. They're likely going to be a beast at the physical stuff. And then on top of that, I think Marcus was saying that his brother has like this Ivy League education. But even more than that, the Ivy League education doesn't impress me. It's the diligence that comes along with the nature of their jobs. So I think another pro is that they both idolize each other, and so they have lots of respect for each other. And that's going to tell me that there's not going to be any bickering with these two. Because if you idolize someone and you respect them, you're going to uplift them, not tear them down. And that's the energy you need to do well in The Amazing Race. Okay, yeah, one thing I did want to talk about is historically, within like the past 10 seasons, all black male teams have not done well on the US version of The Amazing Race. And I don't know why, but it's just an unfortunate reality. And I actually looked back at this. So last season, Taylor and Isaiah, even though they were, they didn't come back to the race because of COVID reasons, they were back of the pack the entire 3 legs they were on. Michael and Mo were the last team to arrive twice. They never finished better than last place. And that was just last season. Season before that, Jerry and Frank, father and son, placed 9th. Season 30, Cedric and Sean Marion, love Sean Marion, Phoenix Suns fan, 9th place. Darius and Cameron, 10th place from season 28. And then season 23, Chester and Ephraim, 9th place. And I think the season before that, Idris and Jamil, they were like 10th place. I'm like, what's going on here? So I don't know, but that's just how it is, and it's just an unfortunate reality. And I really hope that Marcus and Michael kind of reverse this curse. And I feel like they would be the team to do it. So I am rooting for them so hard. And yeah, I just hope they don't get U-turned. I hope they don't get U-turned, because typically the teams that get U-turned are like the physically strong ones. And I just hope the leg designs for this race doesn't screw the people that get U-turned. I mean, you always get screwed with the U-turn, but sometimes the placement of these U-turn boards are just horrendous. Okay, next is Quinton and Mattie. They are former cheerleaders for the LA Rams and best friends. Quinton is a choreographer at 29, and Mattie is a dance coach at 27. Overall, I'm not feeling too hot on them. And I think the biggest reason why I don't feel too hot on them, and maybe they just didn't mention it in their video, but I didn't get a sense of how much they knew the show. So they're giving me like they were recruited vibes. Like if there was one team that was recruited on The Amazing Race, I mean, it would be Emily and Molly. But then the second one, I guess that would be Rex and his golfing buddy. But then the third would be Mattie and Quinton. I don't know. I also didn't get much personality from them. And even though they're cheerleaders, I didn't get much personality. Mattie did say that they are very funny and fun. And so hopefully that pops on the screen, but I didn't really get that from their interview, except for like them smiling and stuff. At one point in the video, Quinton was described as focused, and then Mattie was described as having good attention to detail. And in my mind, is like, those are the two same things. That doesn't differentiate between the two. If you had said like one is focused and one is aloof, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's okay. There's a difference. But focused and attention to detail, I mean, they're really similar here. Yeah, I mean, they're saying the right things. Like they want to slow it down, but I'm just not convinced. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I think they're gonna be somewhere between 12th and 9th place. I say this with everything. I mean, prove me wrong, but I have to put somewhere in 12th and 9th place. They're giving me Joy, Graceffa, and Megan vibes from, I think, season 22. Just like a more athletic and like less weird version. And then they potentially have like Nick and Star upside from season 13. So yeah, a mixture of Joy, Megan, and Nick and Star. And Nick and Star, I think it's because in their intro video they were like doing some cheerleading stuff. But anyhow. They are physically fit. They're gonna do well on the dance challenges. I think they have great chemistry as friends. And so all of that on paper is great. The biggest red flag is how much they know the show and if like the hunger is there, you know? Okay, moving on. Rich and Dom, they are a couple. They are motivational speakers from Huntington Beach, California. Another team I'm not too hot on. Cancel me please, but I don't know. I was getting like awkward energy, from them. Like the hand, like holding of hands. I just felt like a little awkward. It just felt a little awkward. And like the interaction, like the chemistry's kind of off. But again, it's just an interview. It's just an interview, right? Okay, I don't want to. I don't know. I feel bad. I feel bad for like putting other people down. But anyways, Dom has the right mindset of like not racing against others, just kind of racing against yourselves. You know, I think that goes a long way because if you're too focused on other teams, then it's just gonna stress you out more rather than just focusing on the task at hand. I think the thing that I am not so positive on them on is their whole like leading with peace and love and kindness. And you know, that's great because if you're a motivational speaker, you better be speaking with peace and love and kindness. But on The Amazing Race, historically, you know, there has to be some level of cutthroatness in you, that hunger for you to win. The devil's advocate would say, oh, well, what about Colin and Christy? They're like an exception because they came from cutthroatness to peace and love, and I don't think that cutthroatness ever left them. I think it was just the rudeness that left them. They've always been competitive. You know, you can be competitive and still preach love and peace, but I think with these two, I feel like they will prioritize the love and kindness over the competitiveness, whereas it could go hand in hand instead. So they are giving me Eric and Lisa vibes from season 15, the team that was eliminated in 12th place at the starting mat, because they were also kind of like, you know, meditative and, you know, peace, love, all that stuff. And also think that they could be eliminated in 12. I love teams from Huntington Beach, California specifically. In season 12, there was like 4 of them from Huntington Beach. And my all-time favorite bickering couple, Nathan and Jennifer, I mean, Dom and Rich are not going to be the bickering couple, but I wish they were. And they were the incarnates of Nathan and Jennifer, even though they're not. Okay, the last team is Tim and Rex. They are golfing buddies from Tennessee. Tim is a 40-year-old probation officer, and Rex is an ESPN analyst at 59. So, first off, I have no idea who Rex Ryan is. I don't watch football, and he could be the most prolific ESPN analyst of all time. I've never heard of him. So, I can't speak on what pros and cons or what he's gonna be good at or not, because I just don't know him. Interesting is the age difference between the two. There's nearly a 20-year age difference. It could almost be like a father and son situation. Tim does look a little bit older than 40, but anyways, that's just rude. So, yeah, I mean, the obvious cons is I don't know if Rex physically can hold his own. Now, physicality is not the only thing on this race, but this cast is not full of, like, Olympic athletes or anything like that, but, like, you know, I think one of my pet peeves is that when people review The Amazing Race and there's no like Olympic athlete or like track star or professional sports player, that they automatically think, oh, the cast is like relatively like unfit and, you know, just like relatively unfit. Whereas if you look at this cast, like they're all fit people. I feel like they are more physically active than the average person, like virtually all of them. And so I just get annoyed when people say, oh yeah, this cast, it's not really, you know, physical. It's, no, they look really good for their ages. They're doing good for themselves here. Rex, on the other hand, looks more physically unfit relatively to the other people. And so that's what I worry about most. Not to mention, oldest member of the tribe, oldest cast member in the race. However, it's not an automatic you're going to be 12th place here. There have been several teams where they might not be physically as fit as the other teams, but they end up going really far. And so, you know, we can't ignore that possibility, y'all. So one thing that I am hopeful for is getting a lot of commentary. So if he's an ESPN analyst, I have to imagine that Rex has great one-liners, is very analytical, and will have very, poignant like observations along the race. And I just hope to see a little bit of the race from his lens, because as the older member of the tribe, the oldest person and likely the most physically unfit person out of the group, it's just going to be interesting to see that perspective. So yeah, they are definitely the underdogs, and so my biggest hope for them is that if they like always get like second to last place on all the legs, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we're in the top 5, who would have thought? But with that said, I think they're going to be 12th to 9th place. Okay, so that's it for all of the teams. I'm sure I've missed a couple of points that I wanted to mention, but there we go. Wow, Keanu, good job. Okay, so for predictions, I didn't put the exact boot list order of what I think will happen, but I've put a bottom 6 and a top 6 and then a top 3. So in no particular order, my bottom 6 are Tim and Rex, Rich and Dom, Quinton and Mattie, Emily and Molly, Linton and Sharik, and Aubrey and David. And then my top 6 are Derek and Claire, Marcus and Michael, Lewis and Michelle, Abby and Will, Aastha Nina, and Glenda and Lumumba. And then my top 3, oh, my laptop is gonna die, y'all. hold on, let me put my charger on. My top 3 are Aastha and Nina, Derek and Claire, and Lewis and Michelle. I honestly didn't think too hard about it. Usually, I pick the teams that I want to root for the most, and those 3 I'm rooting for hard. So we'll see. Aastha, Nina, Derek and Claire, Lewis and Michelle, and my winner pick is terrible drum roll, out of sync. Aastha, Nina. So, ladies, prove me right. And before I go, just some other things. So they're gonna do 12 teams this season instead of 11 teams. This is the first time they've done 12 teams since season 15, where that yoga couple got eliminated. There better not be a elimination as a starting match. I don't think so. But I'm overall excited about it because more teams means more personalities, and I really like the direction they're going with having no non-elimination legs, because as a viewer, as a super fan, you can kind of tell when that's gonna come, you know? And so it kind of takes the surprise element out of it. And if there are no non-elimination legs, it means that racers are going to have to race their damnedest. That means that they're going to be more stressed, more chaotic, more cutthroat, and know like, oh, we don't... Because I have to imagine, even if they don't edit it in, as a racer, you're likely thinking of, okay, when is the non-elimination leg? And even though you don't know for sure... If you're like final 4 and you know there's 2 more legs coming, you're like, okay, this is gonna be non-elimination. Like, I don't have to race as hard. Let me conserve my energy, you know? And whether or not that plays a big role in the race, it still plays a role. And I just feel like on all fronts, this is gonna be better. I think a reason why they didn't do it earlier on is because of budget cuts or something like that. But if you think about it, if you have no non-elimination legs, budget cuts because if you have another team, it's like more airfare or something like that. But if you have no non-elimination legs, then you cut the amount of legs. On Wikipedia, there are only 10 legs listed, and that makes sense if someone gets eliminated at the end of the leg, and so at the 10th leg, you only have 3 teams left. Now, in Rob Has a Podcast, they are saying that they think that there is going to be like a keep on racing type of thing, but if there truly is only 10 legs, there won't be any of that. So I am skeptical of their line of thinking that there's going to be a keep on racing leg. This next leg is actually going to be the 400th leg of the Amazing Race, which 400 legs. Like, think about all of the challenges, all of the teams that have raced this race, and I haven't yet, but maybe I'm going to be between 400 and 500, who knows? But, like, what an accomplishment, you know? Oh, I love this show. And then the thing that I am scared is, when I was looking through the Wikipedia page for this season, apparently there's going to be some, like, game-changing element where they're told all of the tasks at the beginning of the first leg, which has me scared, because then is there a roadblock? Is there a detour? Like, I don't want the format of the race to be changing that drastically. And then for a linear perspective, that's going to be hard to edit, because if everyone's doing different tasks at the same time, it's going to be hard to tell as a viewer who's in the lead, which could be more suspenseful. But I really enjoy when they show a team and it shows what place they're in. Like, okay, currently in 6th place, currently in last place, you know? If everyone's doing their own stuff, it's gonna be too muddled, and I won't like know who's in front and who's in the back, and that's gonna be frustrating as a viewer, I think. So hopefully this is just like a first leg thing, just to start things off. But I don't want to say goodbye to detours and roadblocks, and I don't think that will happen, because that would not be a game-changing element. That would be a completely different race. So there you have it, guys. That is my cast assessment. I know I am a very verbose person, and it's hard for me to get my point across really quickly. and sometimes I stutter and things like that. But I really hope that you enjoyed this content. Feel free to comment below, subscribe, please. Like, that would mean the world to me, the absolute world. I really hope that I stick to the schedule of doing 2 of these videos per week for every episode. I might do Survivor as well. I will see if I can have someone join me along, like my cousin or my friend, who are also fans of Amazing Race and Survivor. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, if I said anything where I was wrong in my facts, because I kept on referencing like other teams and other statistics, feel free to fact check me. Yeah, no harm, no foul. I hope you enjoyed this content, and it just feels exciting to be producing content, for like reality TV stuff, because I am just such a geek for this stuff. So I can't believe an hour has went by already. But yeah, we'll just see where this ride takes us, where it takes me. But yeah, okay, take care, bye.